Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitatvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Swameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the series on self-realization, and this talk series essentially filters in the whole Vedanta, both from the Upanishads as well as Bhagavad Gita, and points out the essence of it and trying to find out a truth in the process. So both from the point of scriptural study and the point of analysis, logical, and also how we can experience that also. And in the process we are clarifying a lot of concepts involved, what exactly self-realization means, because a lot of misconceptions have been floating around, and each Mahatma or sage trying to push some concepts which are not necessarily Vedantic, but because of from their own experience. We take Vedanta as a pramana or a means of knowledge, even though we respect all acharyas. So ultimate, the truth is Vedanta pramana. Pramana means means of knowledge. And we already point out what about other religions and all that. Vedanta is the essential truth that is being pointed out, and any religion, if it points out that truth, then that is Vedanta. Vedanta means highest knowledge, and it is clearly specified in the Hindu scriptures in the end part of the Vedas. That's why called Vedanta, and they are called Upanishads. Upanishads are nothing but they are texts that can be found in the end part of the Vedas, and therefore they are called Vedanta or Vedanta philosophy, because where philosophical discussions are done in the end part called Jnanakanda. So all are synonyms. So Vedanta or Upanishads are the highest truth, all are being pointed out in that. Now we are analyzing our own experience and trying to find out, and the scripture uses the common experience of all human beings called Anubhava and pointing in that. It doesn't take any specific person's Anubhava, or means experience. So some Mahatma claims, I experienced that. He says, good. Does it match what Vedanta says? Then we follow that. So what is pramana? Highest pramana is Vedanta. So what is Hinduism? Hinduism is highest scripture is the one that we follow the Vedic tradition, or we follow the Vedanta or Vedas as our scriptural text. There are obviously 4 Vedas, and they are not written by Vedavyasa. He only codified it and put it in a book form or edited it into 4 volumes. What was there before? That was being passed on by word of mouth. He collected it and put it in the 4 books form, and that's what we call it Vedanta or Vedas. And it's considered as apaurusheyam. It's not written by human being because it's been passed on from generation to generation. There's no original source, and it's been discovered by the sages of the yore. That is, the rishis have discovered the Vedanta. How did they discover? They said they were sitting in the seat of meditation, contemplating on the truth, and the truth which is ever present gets revealed to them, to those minds that are prepared. So the rishis are called Veda Drashtas. That means they are able to see. See means hear or understand. I hope you are seeing what I am saying. That means understanding that truth that is being revealed to them. A objective scientist may say, I discovered it, whereas the rishis say, it's revealed to me. So the revelations are coming from where? From the highest. It means from the truth itself getting revealed to them when you are tuning your mind in the direction. This is true whether for any knowledge. A scientist may say, I discovered it, but what he is doing is meditating on the problem in the direction that is required, where suddenly he makes a breakthrough. Breakthrough is nothing but its idea comes to him, and therefore he may claim that I discovered it, whereas the rishis say it is revealed to them, because they don't care for their own names and forms. So in the study of Vedanta, normally we study the rishi and also the meter and then the contents, because they are called Vedadrashtas. And when you go to a temple, they will ask you, what is your gotra? These are the gotra of the name of rishi from which you are coming down, descendants of that rishi. So rishi runa we talked about, obligation to your own forefathers. For highest forefather is your gotram, your rishi from which you have descended, and you should know what he has done. What he has done is reveal the Vedas. So study of the Vedas becomes an obligation for a Hindu, because he claims I am coming from that tradition. Study of Vedanta is required for anyone who wants to know the highest truth. If you don't want to know, that's okay. If I want to learn physics, then you have to learn the physics books. So physics book is not a particular book, but physics is a knowledge that books reveal. So same way, Vedanta is not a particular book, but it reveals the truth, pointing one to contemplate in that, because it's not an objective science. It includes every subject, object, and the relationship as well. So with that, we proceed now in terms of how to realize. That's our topic right now. So in the topic, we are giving you a simple example of the light example and show how perception occurs, how knowledge occurs. So in every knowledge, consciousness is revealed. But is that the truth? So question that we always is, because we say that every knowledge, a consciousness has to illumine the thought, and the thought is nothing but reflection of the consciousness from that. So the thought is a vritti, and the vritti rises when I perceive an object. So thought content is nothing but the object attributive content, and it's not real attributes, it's only reflected attributes as measured by the senses. I gave example already. Is a color blind, only the information that senses with all its color blindness, whatever the information is given, that's what the vritti forms in the mind. And that vritti is nothing but, vritti means a perturbation in the mind, or a disturbance in the mind, like a wave in the mind. Wave is nothing but a perturbation in the sea, and that wave or that vritti wave is being illumined by the light of consciousness which is everywhere. So anything that rises is also get illumined by that, and reflection of that is the knowledge, because it's a consciousness that is getting reflected. Therefore I become conscious of the thought. So when I say I'm thinking, say, how do you know I'm thinking? Of course I'm thinking, I know my thoughts. So when you say, I know my thoughts, how do you know your thoughts? Because thoughts come and thoughts go. That means by nature they are inert. Whatever that comes and goes is inert and impermanent. But what is permanent there is, it's like a coming and someone coming and light is reflected and come back, and other one comes and the light forms on it and gets reflected and recorded in the background. So every thought gets recorded in the background. In the background of what? Background of the mind. So from the mind, it is, because it's also active, a conscious entity, consciousness that is exhibited by the mind joins with the consciousness that is getting reflected by the thought for me to be conscious of the existence of the thought, contents of the thought, and therefore contents of the object as reflected through the senses. All that is being clear. Systematically, scientifically, we analyze how perception occurs, how light is required, and the same way what we are seeing is not an object, it's only reflected light from the object. Same way, what we are seeing is not a thought, but only reflected light from the thought. When we say reflected, we are seeing the light reflected by the chair. The reflection has the signature of the chair, that means the form, image of that. Same way, when I am seeing reflected consciousness from the thought, it has a signature of the thought. So therefore, the information about the thought is coming in as a knowledge through the reflection of the consciousness. That's called idam vritti. Idam vritti means this thought. This thought means the contents of that thought is about the object this. Simultaneously, we said whenever this thought rises, that I know this thought, I know this is a pot, I know this is a chair, that knowledge or ownership of that, owning the knowledge of that also rises. That's called aham vritti. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says aham vritti and idam vritti. Idam vritti keeps changing, but aham vritti is permanent because I am permanent. And I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, this keeps changing. So thoughts come in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. They may come rapidly or they can come slowly. But the consciousness that I am is illumining every thought that comes in, since I am conscious of every thought that is rising. The very fact that I am conscious of every thought that is rising, no thought can escape with my consciousness, because consciousness is eternally ever present. So it may be a short time or a long time, depending upon how long the thought remains. So this thought comes and keeps on coming, and my attention is all the time on the thought content, not on the consciousness that is getting reflected. Just as when I am looking at the objects, my attention is not on the light that is getting reflected by the object. It's the same light falling all over, but falling and getting reflected by different objects. So localized light that is falling on that object only getting reflected by the object. When I look at this side, I say there's a chair there. When I look at, say, there's a table there. So reflection of this is coming and reflection of that is coming, and forming an image, and when that image essentially forms a thought, and we went through all that. So what is that we are really seeing is only reflected image, which is nothing but color shades and lights and shades of that object, which is essentially image, just like any TV or movie and all that you see. So it's just an image. When you watch a movie, you are only watching the light shades of different, if it's a color movie, the different color shades also. And you think that's a real, and then you start crying, oh, heroine is that, but heroine is sleeping somewhere there. Whoever acted a hero, comfortably sleeping because she got so much money, black or white, and comfortably sleeping. But you are here sitting there watching screen. You forget that it is a screen, because it's on the screen only you are watching, even though without the screen you cannot watch, and you are seeing only the lights, only shades and that, but you give importance to the contents of it and forgetting that it's only nothing but lights on the screen. Same as movie or anything. So if I pay attention not to the contents but because that light itself, then I am doing meditation. Looking at my hand, not paying attention to the hand, but to the light that is coming from the hand, and try to see the light only without the object. Object is still there, object is needed, but I am not paying attention to the object. So when I say it is objectless awareness, we are not paying attention to the object that is getting reflected. So in the case it is a thought, we are not paying attention to the thought, but I need a thought to reflect it. So it's not a thoughtless state, but I need a thought, and I need to pay not to the contents of the thought, but only to the reflection of the consciousness that is coming in. As like Upanishad, Pratibodha Viditam Matam, it is revealed in every knowledge. Because every knowledge is nothing but a thought and a Vrutti-jnanam. Thought knowledge is Vrutti-jnanam, that means sequence of thoughts, chemistry thoughts, or physics thoughts, or biology thoughts, or chair thoughts, or table thoughts. And the thoughts are coming, but the consciousness that is reflected is being recognized, but that consciousness reflected is, we are paying attention to the thought content. Therefore, what should I do for recognition of I am the consciousness, or pay attention to the light of consciousness? Forget right now, I am the consciousness. Let's concentrate on the light of consciousness that is getting reflected. So if I can start meditating when I am looking at my hand or a table or changing, can I see without the chair or the table forms the light coming from? Pay attention to the light that is getting reflected rather than the object that is reflecting. So looking at the moon, can I see the sunlight that is getting reflected by the moon, or reflected by the Mars, or reflected by the Venus? And in the place in between, there is sunlight, but there is no object to reflect. So paying attention to the reflecting light rather than to the object becomes a series of meditation now. So what should I meditate? If you can meditate on this. Or meditate on the thought itself, but every thought is revealed because of consciousness is illumining. And if you can meditate on every thought that there is I am conscious of this, I am conscious of that, I am conscious of this, then you are continuously conscious of things, because continuously mind keeps thinking. That becomes a meditation, and that becomes a anubhava experience of what it is. Since thoughts are so many and so rapid, it's difficult to control and observe the thoughts without getting lost in the thoughts. So sitting in meditation, I want to sit in meditation. It says he got a name of Rama, says Om Sri Rama. So start chanting the name of the God, and suddenly the mind goes Rama. That Rama Rao was there. Where is he now? And he owes me so much money. He never gave me. And what did I know what he did? All other things came, because from Rama to Rama Rao to the money to all other things all over, you are traveling around the world. Meditation is gone. Rama also gone. Why? Because one connects to the other thought, other connects to other thought. Rama is connected to Rama Rao rather than that Rama, and Rama Rao to somebody else. All that is interconnecting thoughts, because one is related to other thoughts. That's called attachment. That means one thought gets attached to another thought. And therefore I travel all over the world, and half an hour meditation is over. But what should I do? Since I had to reduce the number of thoughts so that I do not get carried away with the thoughts, so that I can sit back and look back and say, concentrate or meditate on the light of consciousness that is getting reflected by the thought. And that is what is called secret of Japa Yoga. Japa Yoga is where you deliberately give the mind a same thought and a same thought again and again, and by repeating the same thought, you are not running from one thought to other thought, dissimilar thoughts. So having a similar thought and paying attention now, because now I am chanting deliberately, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. So I am repeating the same name of the Lord Narayana, but it's not any other thought but one thought. And between two thoughts, there's a gap between Om Namo Narayanaya. I have to stop and chant again. So second one, again there's a gap. I am observing the gap in between the thoughts. A thought gap and a thought gap. Light of consciousness is getting reflected by the thought, where I don't pay attention not to the thought but to the light of consciousness that I am. So Om Namo Narayanaya, along with the thought, think of Narayana, but slowly shift your attention from that because of which I am conscious of the word, of the thought Narayana. Because Narayana is in that consciousness, not of the thought. So therefore, paying attention, so you're not leaving Narayana, don't worry about it. So paying attention to the light of consciousness reflected by the thought. So this becomes a meditation. Now for Japa Yoga, Krishna says, I am the Japa Yoga. Means this is my glory only. So therefore, use Japa Yoga to shift your mind to something else. So I'm providing the same thought and the same thought and the same thought. And slowly leave the thought, pay attention to the gap between the thoughts. Leave the thought means not chanting. You have to keep chanting. At the same time, attention is more on the gap. If you attention without the thinking, then you can stop also the mantra too. But what I am looking at now is the gap and the thought and the gap and the thought. So this is what picturized in the Leela Shuka, in the Krishna Karnamratam. This is Anganam Anganam Antare Madhavam 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 Antare Angana. So the Rasa Leela is going on. There is Anganam Anganam Antare Madhavam. So Rasa Leela is a gopi and a Krishna in between, and a gopi and a Krishna and a gopi and a Krishna. So dance is going on. So Anganam Anganam Antare, between a gopi and a gopi there is a Krishna. But gopi is nothing but a thought. Philosophical meaning is that a thought and a thought, between the two thoughts is a silence. So my attention is right now on the thought, and then I see silence. I am putting my attention in the silence without a thought, and again on the thought. And the next line says, after Anganam Anganam Antare Madhavam, Madhavam Madhavam Antare Angana. Madhavam Madhavam means Krishna and Krishna, between two Krishnas there is a gopi. Situation is not really different. Whether you say between gopi there is a Krishna, or between Krishna there is a gopi, is the same. But the attention is now shifted to the light of consciousness that Krishna stands for, rather than to the thought per se. Therefore, Madhavam Madhavam Antare Angana. So that's how the meditation has to mature enough, and in the end all is left is all the gopis are dancing and Krishna without dancing in the center. So all the thoughts are going around the light of consciousness. I am contemplating only on the light of consciousness in spite of many thoughts going round and round and round. That is the pinnacle of the meditation itself. So all these processes are provided for the mind to think in a direction. And we discovered that these are all pointers by the Vedanta. So I am a waker, I am a dreamer, I am a deep sleeper. So not only the thoughts in the waking state contemplate, I am independent of the states. So there are two things. I am and a waking state. I am in the deep state. I am in the deep sleep state. So when there are two things together, this is called Anvaya Vyatireka logic in the Nyaya philosophy. When there are two things and when they are two together, that's called Anvayam. The one is there, other is there. I am there, waking world is there. I am there, dream world is there. I am there, deep sleep state is there. But Vyatireka is when one is not there, other is still there. That is, when one is not there, other is also not there. That is also Vyatireka is satisfied. But here Vyatireka is not satisfied, because when the waking state is there, I am there. But when the waking state is not there, I am still there. Not that I am not there. Therefore, I am more permanent than the waking dream deep sleep state. That's what the whole logic is to provide, that I am the real one and the other one is depends on me. How? The ring is there, gold is there. And the ring is destroyed to make a bangle, therefore ring is no more there, but gold is still there. So Vyatireka says the gold is more permanent and gold is independent of the ring, whereas the ring depends on the gold. So this way the ring is more real, this is only temporarily real, and what's we call temporarily real is called either transactionally real or experientially real or utility wise real, but not permanently real. What permanently real is that which never leaves. I am there in the waking state, I am there in the dream state, I am there in the deep sleep state, I am always there. I can negate the waking state, go to dream state. I can negate the dream state, go to deep sleep state. I can negate the deep sleep state, go to waking state. So this becomes a meditation now, that who is that I am independent of the states. Again, not a thought. Thoughts is not a problem. Nor the mind is not a problem. I have to use the mind only to inquire. So it's not going beyond the mind. So all that misconceptions have to be dropped, and looking at the mind, by the mind, with the mind, all that, and looking at what is that I am, which remains the same in all three periods of time. So in order to inquire, I should have the intelligence to inquire, and therefore mind should be available, and therefore this can be done only in the waking state. In the dream state, I cannot develop that subtle mind in order to discriminate what is real and what is not real. That's why nobody in the dream state dreams that this is not true. What I am doing is not true. The tiger is chasing. He doesn't go into sit down to meditation. He says, this is my own tiger, my own creation. I don't have to be afraid of that. He first runs away from the tiger to save himself. Then he says, now you teach me Vedanta. So therefore, I do not have the capacity to discriminate what is real and unreal in the dream state, because if I have the capacity, then I won't be going into dream state, because mind is awake in the waking state. It needs a sharp and subtle intellect that is available only in the waking state. In the deep sleep state, the mind itself is folded, so I cannot inquire even. I don't know that I don't know also, I don't know that I exist also. Only after the fact I establish by that my mind that I was there, I slept very well because I was there to sleep very well. We went through all the analysis. So all that is required for proper analysis. Now we are going to a little bit more detail in terms of, is this an experience? Or is this a knowledge, or is it knowledge and experience? All these things need to be understood clearly, because I am looking for happiness. Because I studied Vedanta, now I have to sit down and experience that Brahman. A lot of people say, because they say, I have studied all the scriptures, I have studied Bhagavad Gita, I have Upanishads and all that. Now, this is all intellectual stuff, and I need to do something beyond the intellect. I need to sit down and meditate. That means, all it means is he has not really understood. Why? Because there is nothing to meditate. And we'll analyze this problem clearly so that there are no confusions, because in all the self-realization, major problem is confusing mind with all preconceived notions, and that itself is a problem causing, obstructing for one's own realization. So in the next, we will analyze what is knowledge and what is experience, and how this is the essential knowledge that is required, yajñātva āparangeyam, knowing which there is nothing more to know, the scripture says. And that we will analyze in the next stop. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.